record the meeting then. And what I'd like to do is maybe just start with the agenda, just taking a quick look at the agenda. It's hard sometimes to get behind all of the little menus that Zoom insists on putting up at the top of everything. So I think, Lisa, you've met both Amy and Dawn.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. And I think the only person that I was thinking of there was Ebru, that you know, she's worked with Dawn and myself, but probably not, you know, some of the rest of the team. So what we wanted to do is Amy's prepared a presentation just to kind of look at some of the high points and some of the bright spots. We wanted to take a look or discuss some of the enhancements for myON that are coming. And that includes a new decision point, if you will, with regard to Lexiles and STAR versus Lexiles in myON. We're very happy to share with you the myON Nearpod connections. And we'll be able to kind of take a look at that. And then Amy has some suggestions for strengthening the implementation. And then we just kind of wanted to reserve some time to kind of talk about the renewal process. So that was kind of the working agenda. Do all of those things seem all right with you?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. Well, I've made Amy a co-host, so I'm going to go ahead and turn everything over to Amy at this point to just kind of take a look at some of the high points with our implementation.
Yeah, definitely. And Lisa, too, I'm so glad that you're here, because I feel like in our AR meetings, you've been really clear about like, well, what does this specific data piece mean, right? Like, how are we actually delineating that by students served? So I tried my best, but also always like ask questions, poke holes. That just makes the data that much stronger. So of course, always begin with our mission, and really the agenda for this moment. This is going to be like a quick, very quick, but we can also, if you have other data requests, feel free to ask. But it's really to go through bright spots, specifically with books, bright spots with projects, because there are 3 sites that are really using projects. Which I think is just a testament to implementation and to those teachers that are using the tool, I think, in a really strategic way. We'll go through questions and comments, and then I just have a link to showcase the summer engagement kits that I think could be a cool opportunity to show with partners and stakeholders and teachers and families. So we'll start with the bright spots for books. So there were 5 schools. So I have a whole spreadsheet, and Lisa, I can share this massive spreadsheet of data that I was able to download and code through and sift through. But there were really, when it came to implementation, oh, cool. Do you want to go ahead and admit Carrie? She's just about to jump in. All right, I got it. We can quickly welcome her as well. Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Nice
Hi, everybody.
Welcome. We're just going through some quick data pieces and some bright spots about myON data, but feel free. I'm a project manager. I've worked with Lisa before and Mustafa, but if there's anything that you want to have me pause on, if you want me to dig deeply into something that's not approached here, please feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
sorry again, or sorry
you.
for being late, everybody.
Now I want to be where your background is. That looks heavenly.
Me too.
Yeah, I bet. But yeah, I just pulled out. So there were, when I got all the data, I think one thing that I always think about when it comes to myON is what on earth does total books read and what on earth does total minutes read mean? Like, what's the threshold and what does that mean for how our students are engaging with books and with the product? And so one thing that I actually did is, if you look in this right-hand column where it says total minutes read by school, that on the outset is like, oh my gosh, this is so impressive. What I did with every school across Harmony that was using myON was I actually divided it by the total number of students in the building to get a per student view of what was happening with minutes read. That just helps me to see like, okay, this is what's happening in that whole school. But right, so for Harmony Science Academy Laredo, at first in my sorting, they were first, right? If we just look at total minutes read by school, because they have 214,000 minutes read. But I was like, well, wait a minute, this is skewed when you have, say, 800, 900 students in a building. Of course, you're going to have more minutes read. So I did divide that total minutes read by school. I did divide that by the enrollment number that was captured in the data spreadsheet that I was able to download. And so when I did that, then, you know, the order and the rank changed. So Harmony School of Endeavor Houston had minutes read per student was 263 minutes per student. I was like astounded. That is fantastic. So I don't know if there are other reports that I can run by building, right? That can showcase what does that usage look like by grade level. But that was something I think was really exciting to see. And then the total book, so sorry, I'm going backwards. I'll start from the right and move I'll start from the left and go to the right. But books read per student was 25 books. And then the total books within the school was over 5,000, which is fantastic. And then same, so if we just kind of look at each of these schools, Odessa, Garland, Harmony School in Fine Arts and Technology, Houston, and then Laredo, were just kind of the bright spots when it came to books. And so that then makes me question or just have more questions around implementation, right? Where is it taking place? Are students reading it within a literacy block, within rotations, within advisory? Because it's really positive. These 5 sites really do showcase implementation of the tool. Then the next piece is projects. And there were 4 schools that were really creating structured projects for students. And so with this, I did do it. I just kept it kind of bare, but books read and then minutes read within each of these. And that's within specifically projects. So that means that teachers are designing projects, right? They're assigning them to students. Students are engaging in those projects with the reading material. So once again, just kind of showcases 4 schools that are using that projects feature, which in districts where I support that also have myON in other ways. Projects is a really awesome, cool tool. Linda and Carl, you can also speak to projects and how impactful they can be and how creative they can be. So based on those pieces thus far, is there any questions and comments that are popping out at you?
Just the thing I was wondering, I put in my notes, I was just wondering about either an official or unofficial goal, perhaps for campuses that have myON, just as like kind of a benchmark goal, like I say official or unofficial because they don't all have to have it, like they already have that option built in, but the columns of like minutes per student, per student, that's similar to some of our other like software goals that we have set up for other programs and other grade levels and other departments. And so that's, I think if we did that, that would be probably easily like understood by the system. So that was just, that was a wondering that I had.
Yeah. And I think so what I will do is there are a lot of different ways to set that up and so what I will do on the back end is I'll connect with some other project managers. There are some other project managers that have done really cool ways to benchmark and to establish goals by minutes read and books read. So I'll gather some of those resources and pitch them over to you if you'd be open to that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Be like, right, what to me, I agree. I kind of can get lost in the minutia of like, what does this mean? What does this mean for reading? So Linda and Carl, I don't know if you want to add to that or have a response to that question.
Well, I think too, I know at one point in time, there there was the question, and I think it was more when myON was in the elementary schools in terms of a competition. But I think to have kind of a leaderboard, like a reader leaderboard to kind of showcase that's something that we could also do. And one of the things when we look at strengthening the implementation, I wanted to just remind everyone that we do have that tiny URL, you know, that web support page specifically for Harmony Public Schools and myON. And we do have another district that in the greater Houston area that does run a competition, and we actually post all of that information on that website every month. And then that's something where all the teachers and the building principals check the website. The nice thing about doing something like that is the website has all of the resources and links to all the wonderful support pieces that Renaissance has available. So while folks are going to check to see where their school has performed and kind of where they are in the ranking, they can see, oh gosh, yeah, I did have a question about this, and here's a link right here. So it might that might be another way to you know, if you do decide whether it's an unofficial competition or an official competition, again, if you want to post the top 5 schools or top whatever schools with some of the statistics that Amy's recommending, that would be a place to do it. And certainly, of course, I know that the district has its own LMS, so that would be another, you know, there are multiple places where you might want top of mind for folks.
Thank you, Linda. Any other questions? What? Okay, you all, for real? That makes my job way easy. I'm like sweating over here. Okay. Well, feel free if at any point there are other questions that pop up, like this is an open space, so feel free to ask. And then the last piece is the summer engagement kits. I didn't know if you all, I know Lisa with our other group, we really use Google and Google Drive. So what I did was I put the PDF of the summer engagement kit. Oh, this is for AR. Oh no, it's myON. Okay, great. I just saw y'all were covering up my screen for a moment. But it is, again, just a resource to pass off that has a ton of cool different resources that teachers can implement with students. So I will share this slide deck with you. It is also within a Google Drive format, so you have access to it. Once again, is just, you know, if you want a site to be working on projects, they can quickly go in here and learn how. Adding books to a project. Here's some fun other DIY little reading challenge ideas and letters to family in English and Spanish. So I will go ahead and stop sharing. I will put this deck in the chat so that you have access to it right now. And I will pass it back to Carl and Linda.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Amy. I have my video blocked just because my internet is slightly unstable and I don't want to kind of rock everything. What we wanted to do also was just kind of share with the group some of the enhancements for myON. And I know Dawn has some of that information. We've the company's kind of come full circle back to the whole Lexile issue, Carrie. So I'm going to let Dawn kind of address that before we move into, you know, one of the enhancements is our connection and partnership with Nearpod, which is part of the Renaissance family of products. But Dawn, if you can kind of take us through some of the other pieces, that would be great.
Sure, definitely. Yeah, so we, as Linda mentioned, we've made a few changes, and I know last spring when we all connected, there were some changes where Lexiles were going away, and so at that point, or I'm sorry, the Lexile assessment within myON was going away, wouldn't be part of the myON offering. Apologize, I have a cold. And then we've got a few changes with that again over the year. And what we've landed on now is we are bringing back Lexiles into some of the reports within myON. And as of last year, we did give all of the schools that had myON Reader, they did have access to STAR Reading, which is the assessment for screening, progress monitoring, but also reports on Lexiles on a lot of the different reports and such. So this year we have a couple different options. One would be to stay with STAR Reading, which would place the students into myON, help recommend books that is within their reading level and such. The other option we have is to go back to kind of a middle of the road, I would say, where there will be an assessment built into myON, but which is kind of like a STAR, I call it a STAR Light. It's not the full STAR Reading assessment, but it's a portion of that, which will also guide students to books that are within their reading level. And of course, then the Lexile information would be on the reports within myON. So really kind of, one is a little bit longer assessment, one is a little bit shorter, but both will do the exact same thing with giving you that Lexile information that you need. And so talking at the end, I know at the end of this, we're going to talk a little bit about renewals. We know that some of the schools did utilize STAR, some did not utilize STAR. So that'll be part of that conversation too with renewals. Like, okay, here's our two options. Do you want to leave it up to the schools to choose if they want to keep the full STAR Reading within that bundle, or do you want them all to, choose one or the other, depending on your thoughts.
And one of the things, Carrie and Lisa, if the STAR Light component works the way that that it does in the current myON program, then literally it's a totally different process than assigning that Lexile placement assessment, which was really kind of an ordeal to get that project out there, get it assigned, get the window open, etc. So with the Lexile placement that's embedded within myON, literally when the student logs in, that option is there, and the teacher can kind of make sure that every student sees that option to take this, take this quick assessment or this quick placement to update, your reading levels in myON. And that's something that the teacher, just like we used to assign the Lexile placement assessments and then the benchmarks as kind of the for each grading period, the teacher can actually assign or ask the student to go in and retake that assessment as often as the teacher would like, which is going to give you that continuous progress monitoring on the student's reading level. The thing that's nice about that is that it's embedded directly in myON. It's not a separate program, so it's not a different piece that anyone would need to administer. At least that's my understanding, Dawn and Amy.
It is. It's built right within myON. That being said, the other option too, keeping STAR Reading, is just another tile. So when they log in, they see both there. It's not where they have to go into a separate login. If a school wants more data on the student overall, that's where STAR Reading would give, because that's, basically similar to NWEA that you've been using for, for years and years with screening, progress monitoring and such. So there is more to it. Yes, it definitely is a different tile, but the connection is there between STAR and myON. So just depending, it also depends on what you're looking at doing for the upcoming school year in regards to assessments overall as a network, I would think. Any questions? Carrie's smiling, so that's good.
No, I really like that we have the options. I wrote down I think we'll probably talk. I would like to talk, just the two of us first to decide, I guess maybe to decide if we're going to let campuses make that decision or if we would make that decision for them. I'm kind of leaning toward making that decision for them. But yeah, I like the idea of the two options. I think the second option, it sounds, it sounds probably like it's where I'm thinking right now. Yeah. But okay. I wrote down.
Okay, we'll
I was
talk
taking
over,
notes,
let us know.
Yeah, we will.
Sounds good.
we'll wait for you to kind of let us know what your decision is once you've had the opportunity to talk that through. And there are certainly pluses and minuses, as I think Dawn and I have indicated with both platforms. They'll give you the same result, which is nice, so that you'll have that Lexile score. What we wanted to do was talk a little bit about the Nearpod myON connection, and we wanted to show you a sample lesson that's available right now. And this would be available for all of your middle schools, or the middle schools that are using myON. And I know that the district is very involved with Nearpod. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And hopefully you're seeing the Nearpod lesson. Can you all see the lesson on?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I don't have my thumbnails open right now. And you can see that it says requires a paid myON subscription. What I wanted to do was kind of walk you through, and you can see there are some other sample lessons. But Nearpod provides a very smooth way for teachers and your departments to actually create lesson plans. And because every book in myON has a very distinct URL, and now every single page in every book in myON can be referenced, you can actually copy and paste a link, so you can not only link to the book, but you can link to a specific page in the book. It makes it even easier than to incorporate myON into direct classroom instruction. So this is a lesson that's set up for middle school students, and it's on inference. So I'm just going to take you through a little bit about preview. Nearpod kind of lets you know what the rules of engagement are. And I did log into myON. And so if we click here to open the web page, I don't know, can you see where it says start the book?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So again, you literally would just go in and be able to start this specific book. I'm going to go ahead and just minimize that window. And then you can see the essential question. I don't know if you all have used Nearpod before. So again, this lesson has been created by the Nearpod and Renaissance staff. So again, this one is making inference.
Yeah, and our teachers have used Nearpod. It was something that a subscription that we added at the very beginning of the pandemic.
Okay.
Or like that first summer, like transitioning into that first, the school year, we added a Nearpod.
Oh,
license.
great. Well, and I saw it on its spot, so or the IT spot, so I know for it to be included there that it's something that many of your campuses use. So, but again, what this will do then is use all of the different pieces within Nearpod to go on a virtual field trip. I'm not going to play the video, but then again, if I copy this to my lessons, it's going to ask the students to actually share their thoughts on this virtual corkboard, and then asking the open-ended questions. And again, throughout this lesson, I'm just going to kind of flip through here quickly. Again, what they're going to be doing is constantly going back to the book. So again, when I click here to open the web page, again, I'm going to the linked page. So here's where the teacher who designed the lesson plan is taking us to a very specific page in the book. So again, you have great capability I'll just stop sharing that piece. You have great capability using that Nearpod and myON connection in terms of creating lesson plans and really engaging the students in a very different way. And just as a reminder, about 70% of myON by design is nonfiction and informational text. So it is going to be covering social studies, science, ELA, mathematics, not so much. And then there is an embedded kind of SEL component as well. So again, you've got a great amount of content that's really available that can be used across a number of different content areas. So again,
Uh-oh, Linda, you're skipping to me. I don't know if she's skipping anyone else. Okay.
kind of
So Linda, if you could switch to your picture, that'll stabilize it a little bit.
Okay.
I think if I can add in a piece too, well, that's Linda
Sure.
right here. I think one thing that I love, and I know, Lisa, you just said that you guys are doing a curriculum project. Is it more like scope and sequence, or are you like attaching resources as well?
We are, well, our SEL, when they come to curriculum week, which will be like the very end of May, 1st of June, they will attach resources and stuff like that to
Cool.
lessons and stuff they're working on. Right now, we're kind of changing formats of some document, some of our
Sure.
stuff, and so
Yeah.
we're taking stuff they've already done and adding
Nice.
it. The only issue that we would have, I think, with including, I mean, this could be something that's put out there as a possible resource, but with
Sure.
not every school using it, we can't put it in as like the resource for one of our lessons.
Got
because
it.
then there would be people left out.
Got it. Definitely. That makes a lot of sense. I think one thing is I've kind of launched this in different places that it is fantastic for is, and I've had really intense conversations with instructional coaches on this piece, is simultaneously like showcasing what the structure of a lesson can be, what it can look like and sound like. It's all done. And so I think for teachers across the gamut of their teaching practice, for some, that's like a lot. For some, that would be broken down, like what Linda just showed, that would be broken down within a mini lesson over 5 days, right? But I think just having that already outlined to showcase to a teacher, like, here's the way that I would scope out this book and how every activity goes back to being textually evidence-based. So that's one perk that I've seen and people really loving is that integration with Nearpod, because it's scoped out for you and for teachers that are like, what guiding question would I ask about this? How would I connect? Then you've got your cards like she showed. Now they're matching terms and definitions, not just for your reading standard, but for that's content based. So I think there's a lot of really impactful opportunities. But
Is there a menu somewhere? I noticed when she showed it, it shows inference being the skill that's being focused on. Is there a menu somewhere that shows the different, like where it's by the skill or whatever? So like we told teachers, hey, you need to be using it for this as well, or this is a possibility, then they know instantly what they're looking for and can go in and find it.
Yes. I don't know, Linda or Carl, if you want to show it again, but yeah, there's like a bank. And I also know when I believe in, talk to me if this is wrong, but like when in myON, then when you click on that interaction with Nearpod, then it will give you the standards that it can approach for that text. So there's a lot of really cool pieces. If you go actually out, I don't know how you got here. Depends on how you got here.
Yeah, so hang on. I think I'm muted.
No, you're good. We
No,
can hear you.
Pardon me?
We can hear you. You're good.
Oh, okay, good. So what you, I had put this in my lessons, but you can explore the Nearpod library. And so the way that I found that, I was just looking for I was looking for Japanese American internment because I knew the name of the book or the lesson. And you can see that there are a number of different ones, but if we just look to your question, Lisa, if we looked for inference. And again, you can see that they're, that they're specific to the grade level. So again, Nearpod has a huge bank, and you can also look you can approach it by subject as well as by and grade level. So you can put these filters on it, and then you can also indicate if you're looking for lessons, are you looking for videos, or are you looking for activities? And then once you find something that you like, say this is one that I pulled up that I really like this. If I add to my lessons, then it's actually going to move that lesson. Oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to do that. If I go back to my lessons, you can see that that's now been moved to my dashboard. So it's really a very simple process in terms of searching the bank and then moving lessons over. And then you can, of course, teachers can go in and edit those lessons and make any changes that they'd like. So again, you can search by a variety of different terms. One of the other things I wanted to just show you real quickly, and I think I'll be able to just skip over to it, is, and again, this is the tiny URL, so hopefully you're seeing that. But there's also a link for that, that summer engagement kit that's built into this. And then we do have these resources, which I know we had shared with Carrie, looking at TEKS titles that are the titles that are specifically TEKS aligned. And then these are all links. These just link back to the resources within Renaissance. We had just organized it a little bit differently based on, and this is a resource that the district has been using for years. And of course, the calendars that that Muses 3 puts together with the activity packs are here as well. And then to Amy's point, when you're in Nearpod, and if you are searching the Nearpod library, you can just put in myON and look for lessons that are specifically referencing myON. And again, you can always use your grade filters as well, just to find content that's specific to the grades you want to address. Are there any questions about that particular piece?
I'm wondering about like serving up an option to the campuses that have myON in the fall to have some kind of short PD session on this specifically, on using it this way specifically. I wouldn't want to, and so I think to do that, I would want to like share that with the coaches that this would be potentially an option, and then kind of gauge interest that way, to see like, oh, in this district, maybe, all the campuses that have myON are eager to do that. And it would need to be short enough that it could happen like within one of their, PLC times, or their like, their time to meet within their department. So something I'm thinking like within an hour, a training that would be like an hour or less, or maybe some kind of like self-paced video training session of kind of exact like just a tour, a nice little tour of this is how, because you have myON, because you have Nearpod, this is how you can interact with both of them, as a way to give some variety to a lesson that you might already have access to or have planned. This is like a way to increase engagement because maybe that's something that maybe Nearpod is something that you haven't used frequently, or you're eager to try it or something like that. I think that's a way to get teachers a little more confident maybe in planning that way, or in adding that to their plans.
Yeah, and too, I mean, and I know that this is maybe not a popular thing to explain, but maybe there's a more beautiful way of saying it. Of planning takes so long. In some instances, these myON decks take that out for you. Like that scope and sequence of how to continuously teach with that standard and through that standard and with interaction, it's done for you. So I know that we never want to communicate like, don't lesson plan, but like incorporate these, look through these, view these, are these impactful for your unit? And definitely prompting like, is there an opportunity to incorporate one of these per unit for your mini lesson time? But yeah, that would be super exciting. I think, Carrie, if you're open to having a moment in time where teachers are open to exploring this interaction, absolutely, that sounds super cool.
I think the only other thing that we needed to cover is that the list of publishing partners has changed. And what we'll do, Carrie and Lisa, is send you the newest list of publishing partners. We no longer have the partnership with HMH. And I know that all of your campuses had HMH publishers, and I know that that's part of your ELA adoption as well. We went back and looked at the publishers that you might want to substitute for the loss of HMH, and we can send you those recommendations as well. Some of your campuses already have those publishers. So if campuses were looking at a straight renewal of what they had before, there might be some campuses that would actually have fewer add-on publishers than they did last year, just because of the change in the partnership with HMH. So I did want to make sure that you were aware of that. But again, we'll send you the new publisher list. You'll see some exciting additions to our publishing partners. And again, we did work through with our collection development group and ask them for suggestions with HMH dropping out. What other publishers would they recommend that you might want to take a look at? So we'll send you that information as well.
Thank you so much. That was something that was on our agenda to make sure we talked about. So thanks for bringing that up.
Well, I guess the next question would really be, I know last year you had reached out to the campuses and kind of provided a spreadsheet that allowed the campuses to opt in or opt out, and then which of the publishers that they would like included in their myON subscription. Are you thinking that you'd be using that same type of format this year?
Yes, as far as I know, yes, because when Miss Bysol, and that was why I invited her and thought maybe she could come if she was available. When she brought it up, Mr. Altenda said, as far as we're concerned, it should be the same setup as the year before. So that to me sounded like all the parts, as many parts that can be the same or reused in this next year, especially like in terms of maybe how orders all went down. I think that would be helpful for everybody on our end who's trying to do stuff.
Okay, so we might just need to switch out the publisher options in that spreadsheet to refresh that. Okay, we can certainly take care of that for you. Dawn, I'll go ahead and make Dawn a co-host. I know, Carrie, we had mentioned to you that there was a new fluency component that was being added to myON for the fall, for back to school. And Dawn has a video of what that would actually look like. So Dawn, I've made you co-host if you want to share your screen and show folks that. That would be wonderful.
Definitely. Let me just grab this here. Okay, there's my dog. So this was actually just created last night. It has been in field testing right now. And what I do understand is that, let me make sure I share my audio so you can hear it when I turn it on. Share sound, there we go. So it is in trial right now, hopefully rolling out by back to school. And I do know that then from last Thursday until this Tuesday, they said that there was over 11,000 recordings. So it's people are responding to it, students are responding, teachers are responding. So again, this is something that one of our national academic advisors made up for me to have.
So I'm going to walk through using the new read aloud features in myON. Remember, this functionality is still in beta format, so the actual look and feel of it could change a little bit after the beta trial. So when a student logs in to myON, they can go to library. And you see here there's a spot for recordings, but I'm going to show you how to do this. So let's say this book, The Truth for Cats. I have the option to read, where I can just listen, or I can click record. So let's say I click record. I'm going to record. Okay, so it has this reminder that you need to click allow on the little pop-up that shows up. So I clicked allow. I notice it shows my name. I can click listen if I want to hear it read to me, and then I can click record. Meow, my name is Otis. It's so nice to meet you. I'm going to tell you all about myself and my many talents. Okay, so the recording's made. I can listen to myself. Meow, my name is Otis. It's so nice to meet you. I'm going to tell you all about myself and my many talents. Okay, I could listen to the...
Hello. Meow. My name is Otis.
Okay, then over here I have still a lot of the same options I had before, so I can pick a different page, I can change the volume, but when I'm done with this recording, I would click this turn in button. Yes, turn it in to my teacher. Okay, that's done. And then if I go to recordings now, you can see here's the recording that I just turned in, so I can go back and listen to that recording at any time. So now I'm logged in as a teacher, and I can, this is my activity dashboard with the different tabs of things I can do. So I can click on recordings over here. I can see each student's recording and that it's turned in or in progress. I can click on a student's name and it launches their individual student page. And in here is where then I can click on the Truth About Cats to go in and listen to the student's recording. Meow, my name is Otis. And that is kind of a quick look at the recording feature, at least as it is right now. Remember, it's still in beta in myON.
So that's just a preview. I think she mentioned like 4 times it's in beta. So no one else really has this. They just created it. I thought it would be good to be able to just visualize it, knowing that it will have some changes and updates and things. But yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, that is really, really exciting. And I think something that teachers could definitely benefit from. I mean, also like just, I think students and maybe their, families too, like kids, I'm working with parents too. I can imagine that being a helpful tool. But a question I have would be, is there, would there be like a bank of passages available that a student wouldn't be able to listen to first? Only because I think that would, like, if I hear you read it aloud and then you say, hey, now you read it aloud, I'm going to be a lot better at it than if I'm reading it as a cold read and if I don't have that option to like listen to it first. And so that would just be a question,
So
you know, if I was a teacher, how I would navigate that.
And I think with the core capstone collection, so the majority of those all have audio, so those would all be covered, and it probably would just depend on the additional publishers that each school decided to purchase. Linda, Carl, anything, is that what you're thinking also?
Yeah, the way it looked like to me was that basically, Carrie, because you know there are over 7,200 books in myON right now, and the vast majority of those have audio. So those are your samples, if you will, by those professional voice actors and actresses. So if people, you know, keep in mind that they would be able to do Spanish as well as English because of what's in there. And in fact, if you wanted to, you would be able to expand into other languages like Chinese. So there are sample titles in there for those if students wanted to practice at a school that was focused on Mandarin. They could pull one of the lower level books. I would still be lower level Spanish, so but with Mandarin, you know, that would be quite challenging for a number of students, even at the high school level, at a lower type of book for that. So you'll have English, Spanish, and then the option for things like Chinese and Welsh and so forth, if you wanted to have a world languages collection added. But again, for those other books, they might be at a lower level, but the Spanish and English, of course, would be across multiple grade levels that would be valuable for students that had a strong grasp of listening to those languages. They would also be able to interact in the way that would benefit them in terms of making sure they're pronouncing terms correctly and so forth.
I think one of the things too to remember is if the teacher created a bank of books that they wanted to assign to students for a cold read, when you assign books in a project, you can turn off the audio component, you can turn off the quizzes, you can turn off all of the literacy tools. So the student isn't distracted with any of those things. And again, of course, that doesn't prevent the student from accessing that book directly from the library, but the chances that the student would be pulling exactly the same books as the teacher might, again, in addition to some of our third-party publishers don't have the audio component. So you do have those two different options when you're assigning, you know, books through projects of being able to turn off the audio or have control of the audio as well as the other tools.
Carrie, that's such a great question. And I think particularly, I don't know exactly where this, like I said, I haven't gone into each school and pulled like a grade level report, but particularly in middle school and high school, for those that are using myON, right? I think about elementary, there's so many diagnostic tools, so many. And then as we go up in grade level, there's less and less. So having a project bank of passages where there's just where the audio is turned off and that's where students are expected to go in and do a cold read is an awesome idea for being able to track fluency or progress monitor to hear kids read when you're not able to do it one-on-one. So I kind of was wondering if that was like where your questioning was going. But I think that could be a really cool resource and something that we can add into like a professional learning session if that's something that you're interested in the fall. Like so far I've heard integration with Nearpod, then you said incorporating these recording features and then going in and showcasing like how to build a project to turn off the audio for students to do cold read could be another opportunity. I think like if I would have had these tools when I was a teacher, I would have been so much cooler, you all. It was just like my voice at all times, you know, and students. But yeah, I think these can be really cool. It just depends on how much you want to deliver, you want teachers to be a part of, I guess, to not overwhelm either, particularly at the beginning of the school year.
Right, and I would suggest that if they have some familiarity with bundles and projects, that you might hone in on projects, especially that feature that allows them to link to a specific page, because when you're doing the readings, I would assume that the teacher would want every kid going to the same page so that they could compare the samples objectively and that kind of thing. So having project knowledge, the linked page feature, as well as the recording feature, all of those are going to work together. So I think that that's something that would be very useful for newcomers among other populations that I'm sure you're running to across the state. And this might be something to explore whether or not this type of feature would make sense for people at the elementary level to look at again for myON, because they really might want myON based solely on this feature for part of their populations that they're serving. Just a thought.
Yeah, so kind of on that, how do we support you? What is it that we can provide to you so you can share this information so they can make their decisions, knowing that there's some of these great things with Nearpod and the fluency piece coming out? How would you like us to share that information? Or you can think about it, Carrie.
No, I mean, I think seeing like even just like what kind of like what you just showed, I mean, because like to me that was almost like a teaser, right? Like that's a, you know, coming soon to your accounts, right? Like in the fall, you're going to have this. So that's, to me, if I was on the fence and I have, especially if I have student, like with the recording thing, like with being able to record student audio and then save it in a really like teacher friendly, accessible way, so that it's not like in some cumbersome file system that they have to like navigate and open a, you know, 20 million tabs just to get like go through their students recording. You know, that could be a reason to change my mind if I was on, like, again, like if I was somebody that was trying to decide whether or not to do it. So I mean, if, and then the Nearpod thing too, just because I know that that's a resource that they're already familiar with. So I think, I don't know if this could all be kind of packaged in like a flyer type thing, if that would be better for you all to like, if that's better for your, like how you're supposed to share stuff that's not officially, like if something's in beta, I don't know if you can, like, I don't know what the rules are and all of that, but if some kind of like flyer that we could pass on or some kind of really short teaser style video, I think would be helpful. Yeah,
I think we can definitely do a flyer or a short video. Do you think, is that the best way to kind of share that out with your kind of your regional leaders, and then they'll share that then with the school leaders? Or
yes, I think Mr. Altenda would be a good person to involve in any kind of like information dissemination about that and about that, like that choice, and about like deadlines around that choice, just because he is already very well positioned to be in regular communication with the building leaders who are going to make this decision. So I think
we're speaking with them tomorrow.
Oh, great. Perfect.
So we'll bring it up.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
And then Carrie, once you've had an opportunity to decide on the Lexile component and we see what the level of school participation might be for the fall, would that be a good time for Amy and Dawn to come back and work with you just to kind of put together a professional development plan that would help support the implementation? We kind of need to know what the implementation will look like first and all the different components, but we know in the past that the implementation has been the most successful, you know, when we can make sure that we're providing the appropriate professional development for all of your folks so that they can build capacity at the campus level.
Sure. Yeah, I think that sounds great, that approach, that timeline.
Okay, great.
And I think it makes sense to find out, to get a better idea, more firm idea of which like how many and which campuses are serious about continuing their subscription for next year before we decide, like, so that, you know, any kind of professional learning can be appropriately scaled.
Wonderful. That sounds great.
Well, great. I don't know if anyone else had anything. We've got 3 minutes. And we did go ahead and record this, Carrie, so we can, the recording has been made to the cloud, so I can get you the link for the recording later on today. I have to leave for another meeting in just a few moments, but as soon as I have that recording this evening, I'm happy to send the link to you and Miss Lisa so that you have it for reference.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have on my to-do list to connect with other project managers to get ideas and resources about those benchmarks for minutes read and books read, and then connecting back with you once you have a better idea of what schools are going to sign on to with myON to set up a professional learning plan. And then I also wrote down that we'll wait to hear from you on STAR and Lexile measures, what you are going to determine regarding that decision. And that Linda, you will update the publishers on the spreadsheet to share back with Harmony so that they can have the appropriate itemizations present within their system that they want to continue. Those were the main pieces I had down. And then flyer and a teaser video.
Yep, that's everything.
Okay, great. Cool. And also, Carrie, would it be helpful to schedule a meeting with Mustafa then, or you're thinking down and we'll incorporate it tomorrow? Put it as an agenda item.
I'm thinking if we have time just to kind of run that.
Okay.
back.
Yeah. Okay. We'll try to have time. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure to meet you, Carrie.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was great to see you
Thanks.
and good to meet you
Great to
too,
see
Amy.
you all.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.